Hello there, fellow kids. How are you doing? It's me, your Uncle Walter. If you remember, last time we were reading the book of The Little Prince. So, where we left off was chapter number 5. Let's see if we can pick up where we left off. Okay, so chapter number 5. Give me a second. Chapter number 5, yes. Oh, you remember the Little Prince, right? This little fella that lives in an asteroid all by himself because it's a very small planet. Yeah, you remember him, right? Don't you? Okay. So, chapter number 5. Sorry, I just need to do my hair. Okay, chapter number 5. Let's see. Bear with me for a minute. Bear with me for a minute. Okay, chapter number 5. As each day passed, I would learn in our talk something about the little prince's planet, his departure from his planet, and his journey. The information would come very slowly, as it might change to fall from his thoughts. It was in this way that I heard on the 3rd day about the catastrophe of the baobabs. A baobab is a type of tree. You will find out in a minute. This time, once more, I had a sheep to thank for it, for the little prince asked me abruptly, as if seized by a grave doubt, "Is it true, isn't it, that sheep eat little bushes, shrubs?" And I answered, "Yes, that's true." He then said, "I'm glad." And I did not understand why it was so important that sheep would eat little shrubs. But the little prince added, "So then it follows that they would also eat baobabs, right?" And I pointed out to the little prince that baobabs were not little bushes, but on the contrary, they were trees as big as castles. And that even if he took a whole herd of elephants away with him, the herd would not eat up one single baobab, because they're huge, right? The idea of the herd of elephants made the little prince laugh. We would have to put them one on top of another where I'm from. You know why? Because his planet was so very small that they would not fit. If there was a huge herd of elephants, they would all have to be stacked all up on each other. They just wouldn't fit on the asteroid. What do you know? Then he made a wise comment. "Before they grow so big, the baobabs start out by being little." And I said, "Well, that is strictly correct. But why do you want the sheep to eat the little baobabs?" And he answered me at once, "Oh, come," as if he were speaking of something that was self-evident. And I was obliged to make a great mental effort to solve this problem without any assistance. Indeed, as I learned, there were on the planet where the little prince lived, as on all planets, good plants and bad weeds. In consequence, there were good seeds from good plants and bad seeds from bad weeds. But seeds are invisible. They sleep deep in the earth's darkness until someone among them is seized with the desire to awaken from the earth. Then this little seed will stretch itself and begin timidly at first to push a charming little spring inoffensively upward towards the sun. If it is only a sprout of radish or the sprig of a rose bush, one would let it grow wherever it might wish. But when it is a bad plant, one must destroy it as soon as possible. The very first instant that you would recognize it, you would have to destroy it. Now, there were some terrible seeds on the planet that was the home of the little prince, and these were the seeds of the baobab. The soil of that planet was infested with them. A baobab is something you will never be able to get rid of if you attend it too late, because it spreads through the entire planet. It bores clear through with its roots, and if the planet is too small and the baobabs are too many, then they would split the world in pieces. That's only if your planet was very small, like the Little Princess asteroid, right? It would not happen to us, don't worry. It is a question of discipline, the little prince said to me later on. When you finish your own toilet in the morning, then it is time to attend the toilet of your planet. Just so, with the greatest of care. You must see it that you pull up regularly all the baobabs at the first moment when they can be distinguished from the rose bushes, which they resemble so closely when they are in their earliest youth. It is very tedious work, but also very easy, the little prince added. And one day he said to me, you must make a beautiful drawing so that the children where you live can see exactly how all this is. That would be very useful to them if they were to travel someday. Sometimes, he added, there is no harm in putting off a piece of work until another day, but when it is a matter of baobabs, that always means a catastrophe. I knew a planet that was inhabited by a lazy man, and he neglected 3 little bushes. So as the little prince described it, I made a drawing of that planet, and I do not much like to take the tone of a moralist, but the danger of the baobabs is so little understood, and such considerable risks would be run by anyone who might get lost on an asteroid, that for once I am breaking my reserves of being a moralist. Children, watch out for the baobabs. Let me show you what that would look like. If you don't take care of the big baobabs right here, they would take up the entire planet, and their roots would be so big that they would make it collapse. And this is a lazy man that did not do his work, so the problem would grow this big and make everything collapse. So that is the deal with the baobabs, you see? My friends, like myself, have been skirting this danger for a long time without ever knowing it. And so it is for them that I have worked so hard over this drawing. The lesson which I pass on by this means it's worth all the trouble that it has cost me. Perhaps you will ask, why are there no other drawings in this book that are as magnificent and impressive as this drawing of the baobabs? And the reply is very simple. I tried, but with the other drawings I've not been very successful. And when I made the drawing of the baobabs, I was carried beyond myself by the inspiring force of the urgent necessity. So yeah, he drew the baobabs with great detail because it was a very urgent matter. How do you like the baobabs? They're kind of big, don't you think? Check this out. Again. Apparently the baobabs, they're huge trees. In case you want to know more about them, try to Google what a baobab looks like so you get familiar with how that would be, alright? So yeah, the fabulous baobabs. Give me a second, I'm just gonna put a little bit something here. Good, I like this. Alright, let's continue. Moving on to chapter number 6. Oh, little prince, bit by bit, I came to understand the secrets of your sad little life. For a long time you had found your only entertainment in the quiet pleasure of looking at the sunset. I learned that new detail on the morning of the 4th day, when you told me, I am very fond of sunsets. Come, let us go look at a sunset now. And I told you, but we must wait. And you asked, wait? Wait for what? Well, for the sunset. We must wait until it is time for the sunset. And at first, you seemed very much surprised. And then you laughed to yourself and you told me, I'm always thinking as if I was at home. Just so, everybody knows that when it is noon in the United States and Canada, The sun is setting over France. So you could fly to France in 1 minute, then go straight into the sunset right from noon. Unfortunately, France is too far away for that. But on our tiny planet, my little prince, all you need to do is move your chair a few steps. And that way you could see the day end and the twilight falling whenever you like. One day, the little prince told me, I saw the sunset 44 times. 44 times. 44 times, right? 44. And later the little prince added, you know, one loves the sunset when one is so sad. I asked, were you so sad then on the day of the 44 sunsets? But the little prince did not reply. Moving on to chapter number 7. Chapter number 7. On the fifth day, as always, it was thanks to the sheep, the secret of the little prince's life was revealed to me. Abruptly, without anything to lead up to it, and as if the question had been born of long and silent meditation on his problem, he demanded to know. So, a sheep, it eats little bushes, right? So, does it eat flowers too? And then I answered, a sheep. The sheep will eat anything it finds in its reach. Anything. Then the little prince asked, well, do they eat even flowers that have thorns? Do you know what a thorn looks like? Let me show you. What are thorns? Okay, so say this is a flower, right? And for example, this rose right here, it has little things coming out the sides that are pointy, and if you touch them, oh, you will prick your finger. Those are the thorns, all right? So the little prince asked, do sheep eat even flowers with thorns? Yes, they eat even flowers that have thorns. Then the little prince asked, well, then the thorns, what use are they for? And I did not know, because at the moment I was very busy trying to unscrew a bolt that had got stuck in my engine. Because he was, remember, this dude, he was flying a plane and the plane broke down and it fell in the desert. So while he was in the desert, he was trying to fix his plane. They don't talk much about that, but they're in the desert trying to find the plane, all right? I mean, trying to fix it. So the man was worried, the narrator was worried because he was trying to fix his plane. And at the moment, he was very busy trying to unscrew a bolt that had got stuck in his engine. And he was very worried. So the narrator says, I was very much worried, for it was becoming clear to me that the breakdown of my plane was extremely serious. And I had very little drinking water left, and I had to fear the worst. So the thorns, what are they? What are they used for? The little prince would never let go of questions once he had already asked it. And for me, well, I was upset over the bolt that I could not unscrew. So I answered with the first thing that came to my head. Ah, the thorns, they are not of any use at all. Flowers just have thorns just out of spite. Oh. And then there was a moment of complete silence. And then the little prince flashed back at me with a kind of resentfulness. Resentful. You know what resentful is? It's when you're kind of sad and mad at a person. So, the little prince flashed back at the man with a kind of resentfulness and said, I don't believe you. Flowers, they are weak creatures. They are naive. They reassure themselves as best they can, and they believe that their thorns are terrible weapons. And I was very busy, so I did not answer. And at that instant, I was saying to myself, if this bolt still won't turn, I am going to knock it with the hammer. Again, the little prince disturbed my thoughts. And do you actually believe that the flowers... Oh, no, I cried. the narrator said, No, 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 I don't believe anything. I answered you with the first thing that came into my head. Don't you see that I'm very busy with matters of consequence? And then the little prince looked back at him, thunderstruck. Matters of consequence? The little prince asked. Then he looked at the narrator with the hammer in his hand and the fingers black with engine grease, bending down over an object that seemed extremely ugly to him. And then the little prince said, Oh, you talk just like the grown-ups. And that made me a little ashamed. And then he went on relentlessly. See, you mix everything up together. You confuse everything. The little prince was really very angry. He tossed his golden curls into the breeze. I know a planet where there is a certain red-faced gentleman, and he has never smelled a flower. He has never looked at a star. He has never loved anyone. He has never done anything in his life but add up figures, numbers, and all day he says over and over, just like you, I am busy with matters of consequence. And that makes him swell up with pride. But he's not a man, he's a mushroom. A what? Yes, a mushroom. And the little prince was now white with rage. The flowers, they have been growing thorns for millions of years, and for millions of years the sheep have been eating them just the same. And is it not a matter of consequence to try to understand why the flowers go through so much trouble to grow thorns which are never of any use to them? Is the warfare between the sheep and the flowers not important? Is this not of more consequence than a fat red-laced gentleman's sums and numbers? And if I know, I myself, one flower which is unique in the world, which grows nowhere but on my planet, but which one little sheep could destroy in a single bite some morning without even noticing what he's doing, oh, you think that is not important? And then the little prince's face turned from white to red as he continued, because he was very mad. He now said, if someone loves a flower of which just one single blossom grows in all the millions and millions of stars, it is enough to make him happy just to look at the stars. He can say to himself, somewhere my flower is there in one of the stars. But if the sheep eats the flower, in one moment all of his stars will be darkened. And you think that is not important? And he could not say anything more, because his words were choked by sobbing. The little prince was crying. The night had fallen. I had let my tools drop from my hands. Of what moment now was my hammer, my bolt, or my thirst, or my death, if on one star or one planet, in my planet, the Earth, there was a little prince that needed to be comforted. So I took him into my arms and rocked him and said to him, don't worry, the flower that you love is not in danger. I will draw you a muzzle for your sheep. I will draw you a railing to put around your flower. I will... And I did not know what to tell him. I felt awkward. I did not know how I could reach him, where I could overtake him and go on hand in hand with him once more. It is such a secret place in the land of tears when you are sad. So that is chapters number 5, 6, and 7 of The Little Prince. Basically, we have already read a good portion of the book, and that is all for today. I hope you liked the reading, and try to search for the baobabs just so you know how they look like, all right? Also, I saw your little drawings of sheep, and I like them very much. Try to draw a little baobab tree for me, okay? We'll see you next time. I love you guys. Hope you have a good day. This is Walter, your uncle, signing off. See you next time.